I'm delighted now to introduce Mike Kennedy, who's going to share a little bit about the legal and technical do's and don'ts of preaching in this election season. Mike Kennedy is the Faith Votes campaign manager for Interfaith Power and Light. Interfaith Power and Light's nonpartisan Faith Votes campaign inspires and mobilizes people of faith and conscience to express their faithful values through voting. I'm sure Mike will share more about where you can find resources, but just to highlight now, you can find all sorts of good resources that they have at interfaithpowerandlight.org/faithvotes. And with that, I'll pass it over to you, Mike.
Thank you so much, Avery. And it's great to be here. Thank you for the invitation. You've got me in the lineup between two wise preachers, so no pressure here for this layperson. No pressure at all. As Avery said, I'm going to share a little bit about some legal and technical details around the do's and don'ts. Before I start that, let me just zoom out and tell you a little bit about Interfaith Power and Light, or IPL for short, if you're not aware of us. Our mission is to inspire and mobilize people of faith and conscience to take bold and just action on climate change. And we work in all 50 states and U.S. territories beyond that, with a broad network of state and regional level affiliates. There is a host of resources on the website that Avery mentioned, and you'll see in a moment. A host of resources for congregations and faith leaders like all of you, to give you inspiration and confidence to speak boldly within the bounds of federal rules and regulations. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. Avery, could you let me know if you can definitely see the slides?
Yep, we can see the slides.
Thanks for confirming that for me. All right. Sorry, just having a moment of difficulty. Here we go. Okay. So one of the resources on our campaign site is called Politics and the Pulpit. With a momentous election season upon us, we want to ensure that faith communities across the country have the info they need to conduct election-related activities within the bounds of those federal rules and regulations. So a couple of disclaimers. Number one, I am not a lawyer, yet have confidence in the material that's being presented. And the second disclaimer is I have never stayed in a Holiday Inn Express, so know that as well. So the ways in which religious organizations engage in public policy and politics is a function of their status as nonprofits under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. Periodically, the IRS will publish guidelines to help religious organizations understand what they can and cannot do as tax-exempt entities. Yeah, the IRS last distributed such a resource like that more than a decade ago. This guide is inspired by that document and has been updated to address some more modern scenarios. And we want to thank Texas Impact, our affiliate in the state of Texas, who first developed this and for helping us spread it around the country. And in the first half of my presentation, to Avery's point, I'm going to talk about some legal and technical highlights, do's and don'ts that are in the guide. And then in the second half, for those of you who are competitive amongst us, we're going to go into game show mode. So let's start with permissible election-related activities. Faith communities and clergy can participate in public policy advocacy or lobbying to a limited degree. This can include supporting or opposing legislation, ballot initiatives, and other governmental actions. Lobbying activities must be no more than an insubstantial part of the total activity of the organization. However, nonpartisan civic engagements, such as voter registration and education, for example, is not considered lobbying, and it is not limited. I'll say more about the first two bullet points that you see here on the screen. You can take position on public policy issues, including ballot initiatives and legislation in which your values are implicated. Activities such as public education campaigns, petitioning, joining coalitions, and meeting with elected officials are all acceptable. And you can host candidate forums and debates as long as all candidates meeting preset, objective, and nonpartisan criteria are invited. That forum must be for the purpose of public education, and the issues and format may not favor a particular candidate or party. We have a how-to guide for congregation-based candidate forums on our website. Here are some more. I'll point out that more permissible activities. I'll point out that you can organize nonpartisan efforts to assist voters who may face challenges getting to the polls, including, and these are just some ideas, providing transportation to polling sites, providing a drop-in babysitting service for parents with young kids on election day, or establishing a phone chain the night before election day, encouraging members to call other members to remind them to vote. Now, in our guide, and if you don't have it already, when I'm done, I'll drop a link in the chat where you can download it if you like it. In that guide, there's more background on each of these bullet points beyond what I've just shared with you, so you can take a deeper dive. Okay, now let's switch over to prohibited activities. As a general rule, faith communities and clergy acting in an official capacity cannot engage in activities on behalf of or in opposition to any particular party or candidate for office at any level of government. They must remain nonpartisan. Even the perceived appearance of partisanship can result in the revocation of your 501c3 status. To be clear, endorsing candidates is prohibited. For clergy, this extends to messages from the pulpit and congregation-based communications. When clergy do engage in a political campaign or political discussions, they must act on their own and not as the leader of a faith community. Here are a couple more prohibited activities related to candidate invitations and membership lists. I'll just pause for a second for you to check those out. And finally, here are a couple more prohibited activities related to congregational resources and raising money. Again, in our guide, there's more detail on each of these bullet points beyond what I've just shared with you. All right, it's time to play a game show mode. Who remembers the children's classic game, red light, green light? We're gonna play a version of that now. I will offer a brief scenario, and then you can drop into the chat or yell out loud to your coworkers, red light or green light. This game is going to have 4 of these scenarios from our resource, Politics in the Pulpit, but there are several more in the document. I will spare you me channeling my smarmiest game show voice, which maybe would be Bob Barker or the dude from Press Your Luck, No Whammies, great show. So maybe for fun, if you want to drop in the chat, which I will not be able to see, which TV game show would you like to guest host? Or which game show host would you most like to impersonate in front of your congregation this weekend? That'll be really telling to see some of these answers in the chat. Have fun with that. Okay, here we go. Example number 1. Temple Bethel is across the street from a university campus, and it hosts a voter registration drive on the sidewalk in front of their building, which is a high traffic area for college students. Members from Temple Bethel run a booth, which includes resources for checking voter registration status, making available voter registration applications, providing sample ballots, and providing information about when and where to vote. Before we play the game, a quick disclaimer on this. If you want to engage in the voter registration work, make sure you know your state-specific voter registration laws and rules. And if you're new to it, partnering with organizations with experience already doing it is a great way to start. All right, game time. This example I just gave, red light or green light? Yell it out loud in your office or drop it in the chat. All right, that's green light. Give yourself a pat on the back if you're 1 for 1. Here we go to item number 2. Pastor Brooks is the minister at First UMC, which publishes a monthly church newsletter that is distributed to all of its members. In each issue, Pastor Brooks has a column titled My Views. The month before the election, Pastor Brooks states in her My Views column, "It's my personal opinion that insert candidate name should be reelected or elected." For this one issue, Pastor Brooks does pay from her personal funds the portion of the cost of the newsletter attributable to the My Views column. All right, is that a red light or a green light? That's a red light. Even though Pastor Brooks paid part of the cost of the newsletter is an official publication of the church. Because the endorsement appeared in that official publication, it constitutes impermissible political campaign intervention by the church. All right, number 3. Your local mosque maintains a website that includes information like biographies of its faith leaders, times of services, and activities for its community. Naeem, who is a member of the mosque, is running for a seat on the town council. Shortly before the election, the mosque posts the following message on its website: "Lend your support to Naeem, a member of our community, in Tuesday's election for town council." Red light or green light? That's a red light. The mosque has impermissibly intervened in a political campaign on behalf of Naeem. All right, last one. Go for 4 here. Father Smith is the priest at Sacred Heart Catholic. The Sunday before the election, Father Smith invites Senate candidate Jones to preach to the church during worship services. During his remarks, candidate Jones states, "I'm not only asking for your votes, but for your enthusiasm and dedication, for your willingness to go the extra mile to get a very large turnout on Tuesday." It's important to note, Father Smith had invited no other candidate to address the church during the senatorial campaign. Red light or green light? That's a red light. Because the activities took place during church services, they're attributed to the church. By selectively providing facilities to allow candidate Jones to speak in support of their campaign and not other candidates, it constitutes impermissible intervention. All right, congrats to all of you who went 4 for 4. I'm proud of you. And I just wanted to point out some additional resources for you. The Pew Forum on Religion and Public Life has a great guide. Many of the examples cited today and in our document were drawn from that resource. And then Boulder Advocacy is another terrific place to give you sound guidance on all of this. And I will stop there. Congrats to all of you who finished 4 for 4.